Hey guys, how's it going? Um, Might have missed that intro actually, but doesn't matter. I'm trying to record this all at once so I can just straight upload it. I know this is coming later than our usual summaries of Jeff's Q&A, but it was a little bit unexpected, for me at least, of how quickly that came out all of a sudden, and so I just wasn't prepared for it. So this is coming out now, so I'm just making this video. I'm going to try and make it so I don't have to edit it, so I can just straight upload it for you guys. Also, before we get started, as always, if you guys are looking for Force of Will singles or sealed product, be sure to click the link in the description below for Happy Little Hug Factory. They have pre-orders for the new set and starter decks, I believe, still, assuming they're not sold out. So make sure you get there before they sell out. It's great pricing on all of it. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into this. Apologize once again if it's not as clean cut, a little bit all over the place. I'm going off a couple different notes. I watched part of the stream, but not all of it, so some of this is Oscar and stuff, so yeah. So first I want to start with this quick PSA. Jeff, listen Jeff, so you mentioned you watched 2 episodes of RWBY and it was bad, and I agree. Volume 1 and 2 are bad. No one's contesting that. It takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, to watch all of Volume 1 and 2 combined. So you just gotta get through that. And Volume 3 is when it gets good, and then Volume 4 and 5 are when it's like, it's perfect sort of dialogue. They fix the dialogue, the animation, the action, everything about it. So you gotta get through those 2 volumes. All right, Jeff, just set aside some time, and you'll be good. I promise. But it's bad dialogue. I know it's all bad. Don't worry about it. Also, on a note, I want to also point out confirmation, because Oscar was contesting this. Jeff himself confirmed that pandas are super strong. So we have confirmation from Jeff himself that pandas are strong, especially post-rotation. And he said what I've been saying, which is people underestimate how powerful dark gems are when you flip. When your panda is flipped, being able to insta-speed -5 anything that enters the field that does not have barriers is ridiculously strong. And so, and that's what I've been saying. I'm very sad that I'd forgotten to put cards in my deck. Otherwise, I could have shown you guys the power of it back when I ran that at the ARG and stuff. So hopefully, I'll still make Panda a theme post rotation. Don't you worry, guys. But I am now not alone in my beliefs, and I don't care what Jeff says now from this point on for that, because he already confirmed it. So, going into the nitty-gritty of this. So we'll start out with some of the big news was the Battle Simulator. So it turns out, Battle Simulator was made by another company, and the legal team for that company said that they are not going to allow it to be released for open sourcing, unfortunately. So Jeff said he did not know at the time. He thought that, like when the information came out, he thought that Force of Will made and owned the Battle Simulator, but it is in fact another company who does not want to release that. He will still try and get all the artwork and packages that are Force of Will IP related, and he said he'll host those on his website so people can have access to those at least. But yeah, so that's a little bit unfortunate. So basically, Force of Will will only ever exist in Untap and Lackey. So yeah, he did say he's working on basically getting more players to GPs, in the sense of he wants to have more GPs. He doesn't necessarily want to have a couple GPs with high attendance. He'd rather have more GPs with an average attendance rate, which makes sense because it's not going to have high attendance if there's more of them, unless a huge chunk of people are traveling to multiple GPs. So I agree with that sense. I'd rather have a whole bunch of GPs that average 50 to 100 people than a couple GPs that average 1 to 200 people type of deal. So that'd be cool to see. He did say that if stores going forward, they're going to be doing a sort of plan where stores are holding and can show that they're holding events through probably a program they're coming out with, as well as show that they are selling Force of Will product, then the Force of Will company will be sending promos to those stores. It'll no longer necessarily be through the distributor, in order to avoid this whole situation we're in, where distributors are essentially hoarding promos in order to sell them in their own marketplaces or personally and different things like that. So that's a really cool idea and a good workaround to because it also still avoids a lot of other problems, because the store still has to show that they are holding Force of Will. They're not just sending them willy-nilly. And this could also help with the rarity of promos, because promos right now are quite literally, without exaggerating, a dime a dozen. You can see our previous podcasts and videos of our stacks of promos we've bought that were less than a dime a dozen. So this could also help avoid that, because now only people who play are getting them. It's not, the market's not being flooded by random TCG markets that have just stacks of promos from product they're not selling and stuff like that. So that'll be cool. Jeff and Iji apparently had spoke with a third party about a property that they're going to be pursuing in the future. Nothing is set in stone or agreed upon, but both sides are very hopeful of this eventually working out. So we're not sure exactly what this is, but if it's with a third party, then it's separate potentially from what we have now. This could potentially be what we've heard about before, as far as like the I don't know if it was a board game or miniatures or whatever it was that they're coming out with before. But or it could be product potentially. That's something that I've always wanted. I think everyone's always wanted product. That as evidenced by that Gen Con, where they, as a separate part, they officially confirmed that those Gen Con figurines are completely sold out and they won't make any more of those. And so the fact that those were not only sold out, but people were buying them instantly for way more than they were being sold for at Gen Con, and the same thing goes with those energized tokens, I think shows there's really want and need in the community for things like that. So hopefully they listen to that. They're going to be doing more advertising at conventions and shortening downtime in between seasons in order to help just promote the product continuously and more. They said television advertising is not cost effective for the specific crowd they're trying to reach, because, you know, Force of Will is very anime related and even more specific than that. And so it's really hard to create a commercial for that just for a card game, especially when there's no property outside of that, especially in anime or anything related like that. Going back here, he did say he is still trying to pursue a Vingolf 4, and he's proposing a collaboration and all that. There's nothing set in stone or anything, but it's still something that he's pursuing. The Judge program is currently being translated, so that seems to confirm that it is completed and ready to go, and they're just getting all the different languages set so they can release it all at once and be good to go. So that should be hopefully being heard of in the next month or so, probably before Worlds, I would assume, so that it can start taking effect. He did say that familiar characters inside of lore are going to be appearing in the second and third set. So characters, potentially, you know, things like, by familiar characters, I mean things like that Alice, Lapis, Sylvia, all these characters, not those specifically, but the idea of like all these characters we already know of will start showing up in 2 and 3. Oh yeah, the acrylic cards are coming back as far as top 8 pricing. They're finally getting rid of, and I'll quote, and thanks again to, it was Oscar and Richard Reel who gave me these notes that I'm going off of for the stuff I missed. But I'll quote, no more urine-colored Ubers. So that's a good way of looking at it I didn't think of. I was never happy with those, so I'm glad to see that the company is listening to us on that, and they're going back to the acrylic. Going forward, and obviously they still keep the gold, silver, and bronze pricing for the top 3. So we're going back to essentially what it was before. If you guys missed it, Jeff is doing a survey of the community. I'll have a link in the description below in case you missed that on the US page, and you just go and take the survey and ask your different thoughts of where the card game is going, what you think of power levels, balance, your favorite sets, different things like that. And it's information that Jeff can then take to the company and be like, hey, this is what the people want, like, don't like on average, and he can sort of like discern what's good and bad info and different things like that. And so that's really cool. So I highly recommend, because he's taken the time. He said he's gotten over 200 responses so far, and so he's going to be taking the time to read all of these different paragraphs and responses and all that. So best we can do is just go and give him more responses, essentially more data to go over, because he does love his data. He did say green is going to be much better balanced this time around. He said, for example, Hanzo just has one good card in the sense of his Master Rune. Some colors, he did confirm, will have more master runes than others. Each set will have anywhere from 5 to 10 new master runes. So like we have this set, next set will have 5 to 10 master runes, and then so on and so forth. And this part will be old news probably by tomorrow, because he said that the CR he's trying to get the CR to release tomorrow to quell some people's concerns. But as far as the power level of mechs and stuff at Worlds, he said just wait for the CR, because that is going to change everyone's perspective on that. And if it doesn't, he's going to eat his own words. So keep this part in mind. He confirmed that throughout all of the new Valhalla cluster, there's going to be no inverse cards. So that kind of sucks, because I really liked inverse cards. And I liked shift cards as well when that came out. So maybe it's just me personally. But the secret cards, and I assume by secret means chase cards, are going to be more rare than they were before. So I assume that means they're not going to be the guaranteed one per box, which I think it was something I discussed before. I don't know if it was in a video or not, but how I thought that maybe they shouldn't be one per box in order to add to that rarity, since the one per box, and this is partially due to what they've done as far as the chase cards, which is a separate discussion, but I think the one per box also helped with them not being worth very much overall. But they're going to be more rare. They're going to have all new artwork, so it's not going to be rehashed artwork, which we haven't technically had. Technically, you know, we've had new artwork, but it was artwork they had used for April Fools before, so you can classify that as you will. He said they are beautiful, and he thinks that they're full art, so he was going to hint at how many there were, but he didn't ever actually hint at that amount. But that suggests that their amount is not that set 5 that we usually get. It's either more than 5 or less than 5. So I'd be curious to know what number that is and why that number is, because usually the 5 corresponds to maybe 5 different colors or 5 similar cards and different things like that. So I'd be curious how exactly that works. Of course, could be referred to like maybe if they do runes for the chase card with new art and forward and all that, then it could be sort of generic runes that work across rulers, so you don't have to have multiple colors. But we'll see. He did confirm that for now there's not going to be any tokens. One of the reasons is because the art that was being used for them was they were just reusing Valhalla art for the tokens, but since they're in Valhalla again, they would need to use new art. But he said it's more than likely that the company just didn't even think about printing tokens, and that's why we haven't seen them. But there's multiple reasons, but hopefully we'll get some, because I loved getting tokens before. I know they're, once again, literally a dime a dozen, but it's just a cool thing to have, I guess, especially ones that are specific to Force of Will rather than just proxying. He did confirm there is a promo for buying starter decks. He doesn't remember what it was and doesn't know if the marketing team told distributors what exactly to do with them. So hopefully that works out. But yeah, so it's cool to know that there is a promo. So I'm excited for that. The change in the booster box and packs to yellow was something that Eiji said sort of felt like a fresh start. So he wanted to do that sort of really big change in coloring. And he also said that it's Eiji's favorite color as well, so that helps. So maybe we'll see more yellow. That'd be cool. I guess as a side note, it looks like Jeff also slightly complained about the card Look of Corruption, which is the 1 cost, look at your opponent's hand and discard a 4 cost or less, and then it also has the Awakening and all that. So, and that also that we had talked about, that was weird that there was a card that was just, Thought Control was already like bordering on how strong it could be, and this one's objectively stronger, and you have more value with the Awakening on top of that. So it was always kind of weird. He was asked what the top 3 metrics he was watching for in this next cluster, and he said it's sales, attendance / card usage, and player feedback. So player feedback via these surveys, which he said he's going to do more of. Attendance and card usage is obviously a metric we often see with the card breakdowns and all that. And then sales, obviously. An example of sales, especially sales not matching player demand, was Time Spinning Witch. He said there's the reprint of that everyone wanted and made a huge deal about, and so they went to a completely new printer, rushed that print out, and nobody bought or pre-ordered it. And he said that he personally took huge backlash over it because he pushed for it, and it left a bad image to the company about what players want. Just real quick as a side note, I know this isn't Jeff or anything, but there's definitely a reason for that. And I think people were asking for that time spending which reprint, not necessarily understanding or knowing that how long of a turnaround that was. So 2 months later, I believe it was, of it finally coming out, and honestly not a whole lot of great communication on when exactly that reprint was coming out and when it was available. It was very up in the air, and there was confusion among the stores I was talking to and distributors and different things like that. So there was a bit of that aspect. So players essentially just gave up on it or stopped caring, or already went and paid a crap ton of money for the cards or extra money for the booster boxes they needed and stuff. So by the time it came out, it just straight up didn't matter. And so that could be player expectation, and also a little bit of communication. And also then after all that, people didn't fully set in that feeling of like just being burned by TSW, which is when Sherry came out, when all the misprint rulers came out. And so having those, and then just probably just feeling burnt and maybe not wanting to play after that. And I think there's a lot of factors. I think it wasn't just people wanted it and then didn't buy it. I think there's reasons for that. If it was something where the reprint came out within 2 weeks, I think 100% would have sold fine. I think it was the time, and enough time for certain things to sink in, certain people to not care anymore, and just a lot of factors like that. So that's unfortunate that happened that way, but I do think there's reasons for it. Oscar put this, so I assume it's correct. He said that Jeff said that he thinks Colin is the best and should have his own Force of Will card made in his image. So I assume that's what Jeff said. Anyways, speaking to the previous subject, Jeff also said that the community does not understand how much pull we actually have in decisions, but they need to be the right decisions, which is understandable. Yeah, and I could see some of that. I mean, it's definitely, it's one of the companies you can clearly see people's influence taking place inside of the company. I wish some of it would honestly happen faster, because some of it, yeah, it's cool that they did the reprint, it's cool that they do this other stuff, but some stuff is very clear of like universally, and I know there's been reasons for this, but universally people wanted, for example, Sherry Band. I know you might think it's just me because they talk about it a lot and stuff like that, but that was very something on the online community, on our YouTube pages, Reddit, Discord, on Facebook, and our locals. Nobody wanted Sherry around, but they kept that. Same with Prisha, Fox, Reflect, Refrain. Like, this goes back forever, and I've never seen a time of. And so I feel like they're kind of selective on what they listen to, which is fine. They can do whatever they want, but I feel like it'd be better to listen to things like that, because I think that would inform a lot more stuff. But it is really cool that they do listen, because that's still 100 times better than 99% of the TCGs out there, the fact that they listen at all. And he did say that they are the largest privately owned TCG company, which is a really interesting fact. I didn't realize, never thought about it that way. So the fact that they're able to do as much as they are is really awesome, I think, overall. And let me just make sure that I didn't miss anything here. He did say that the zero cost discard card is more restricted than we think, and that once again that'll probably be something we see with the CR. I'm curious what he means by that. I have some theories, but I won't say them here because apparently I'm already going to get roasted at some point. So he did do a cool little tidbit where, because people asked about the power level of the Loki Master Rune and how it didn't feel that great. It's the one where I believe it's you remove a resonator from game and you gain life equal to its attack or defense or something like that. And he said before that, it used to be draw, like you would remove it and then whatever the cost of the card was or something like that, you drew that many cards, and it was ridiculously strong, and said that it was that change to that life and stuff like that. So that was a cool little tidbit, intro into the thought process there. Here's a note. Once again, I didn't watch the stream, so this note says that Jeff is an edgelord that doesn't play fire. So that's good to know. I'll keep that in mind. So the last big piece of news was he left us with art for our first pieces of art from the Willpower Rewards. He said the reason we have not gotten the full reveal of them is because all of it is brand new artwork, so the artists are actually still drawing and making the artwork, and that's the reason we actually haven't had them revealed to us. But there's not going to be Ubers. Instead, it's going to be alternate arts of the 10 rulers in New Valhalla, the starter deck rulers, which is super cool. So this is the first time we're actually getting willpower rewards that are not based on past rulers in the past cluster. We're actually getting them for future stuff, so they'll have a lot more stay and they'll last longer. It'll be the first willpower rewards that would probably be more valuable than any other ones. They'll retain their value much longer and better. And yeah, so we're not sure what the last 2 promos are. I assume they'll be casters related. If not, really sucks if you play casters and collected all those promos, all those QR cards, and you're just going to get Force of Will stuff. So if that's the case, they really did not think that through, honestly. But so he revealed 3 images from it, and I won't have them up here just so I can upload the video real quick, but I will have the link in the description below. You just click that link and it'll show you those 3 images. So that's really cool, and I'll have it in the Force of Will news as well this Wednesday. But yeah, so that's all the main parts that I can think of that were written down, at least, of his stream. If I missed anything, be sure to type in the comments below. If it's major, I'll pin the comment so that everyone can see it as well. And let us know what you guys think of all these different pieces of news he went over in his Q&A. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.